And Mishnah says, Malva Adam es Arisav Chitin bechitin lezera avalo lechol. So a person's allowed to lend his sharecropper a certain amount of wheat, seed, and the assumption he's going to get that back, but only for planting and not for him to eat it. What's the problem here? The concern is, if you give somebody, the din's called you give a saw for a saw. If you give a certain amount and you expect to get that certain amount back, so let's say you're giving somebody oranges, and now oranges are worth 50 cents a pound. And then by the time you get them back, so there's been there's terrible weather down in Florida, which should never happen for all those Floridians here, right? But sometimes it happens. You actually get a really cold stretch gets in. Now the orange crop is ruined, and you got now it's $3 a pound for your oranges. So it turns out when he returns the oranges, really it's like interest. It's a vak ribis. It's like it's interest because he's getting a lot more back. So generally we don't allow such a thing to happen. Over here, where the guy's your sharecropper, and he normally that's the guy needs seed in order to be able to work the field, and he doesn't have it. So the Chum allowed that to happen in such a situation, since it's not really ribis anyway. And in such a situation, they allowed them to make such a deal. And it's like he's giving it to him, and he'll get it back from what grows in the field. It's sort of like he has it already. Because if the price, now this halacha that you're not allowed to do that, if the price is really set, if you really know it's 50 cents or whatever, so then it's not such an issue, because everybody knows, okay, the price is set at this amount, so it's understood that this is the if the value goes up, so he could have bought them earlier. He could have bought a whole bunch of oranges at that time at that price, so it went up. Okay, so that's nothing you can do. Talking about a case, the Gemara explains where the price wasn't so set already, or even if the guy had, let's say he's borrowing from oranges from you here, he's got oranges at home that he could replace them with. So even if the price goes up in between, since he had the oranges, it's as if he could have replaced them at the current when the value was at the current time. So therefore, the oranges, it's like they went up in value, but the oranges are still replaceable with each other. We're talking about a case. Generally, you're not allowed to do it in a case where A, the price isn't exactly set at the time that it's lent, and B, he doesn't have them at home. But even in such a case, they would allow the sharecropper to borrow it. But not if he's borrowing it to be able to eat it. If he's borrowing it to eat it, he's borrowing stuff from the owner to be able to eat it, so then it's the same case as any other time. It's like the case of the oranges or any other fruit or vegetable or whatever. In such a case, you wouldn't be allowed to. Now the Mishnah says, Shahai Rabban Gamliel malves arisav chitin bechitin lezera. So we know that Rabban Gamliel would do this. He would lend the wheat seed to the kernels of wheat to his sharecroppers to be able to plant. B'yokar v'huzlu o b'zol v'hukru notu mehen kashar zol. Now, if they were expensive when he gave it to them and then they went down in price, or they were cheap and then they went up in price, so he would always take back from them the cheap amount. Meaning, if he lent them, let's say 100 measures, and then they went down in price, so he would just take back the 100 measures, even though it would be a loss for him, because now they're worth less than when he lent it to them. If they went up in value, then he would only take back the monetary value of whatever it was at the time that he lent to them. So that doesn't sound like our Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, yeah, exactly. Rabban Gamliel didn't do this because that was the halacha, ela sheratza lahachmir al atzmo. And he was being strict with himself. He was machmir on himself. And everybody knew this. Rabban Gamliel was machmir on himself. He was strict on himself in this case. But that just shows that the halacha really is that you could do it. It's just that everybody knows Rabban Gamliel was strict in such a case. But the original position stated in the Mishnah is in fact really what the halacha is.